Welcome back. Today's story revolves around Mr. Villain, who has a singular goal: to erase humanity. However, along the way, he discovers an unexpected love for pandas. Follow along as we explore his unique journey filled with surprises and heartwarming moments. Mr. Villain, a member of an extraterrestrial evil organization bent on eradicating humans, takes a break from his villainous duties to visit the zoo. He enjoys observing the pandas and even takes some photos of them. However, his evil plans resurface as he decides to eradicate the pandas after destroying the humans. Then he meets a Red Ranger, a member of the group fighting the Evil League. He asks the Red Ranger to let him enjoy his day off and proceeds on his break. He notices the aquarium ticket the Ranger is holding, and as such, he guides the Red Ranger to the aquarium. However, the Ranger struggles with directions. Later, he visits a convenience store, impressed by its variety. He stops for an ice cream, but his usual is no longer in stock. He picks up a new variant, albeit hesitantly. The store employee worries about the new ice cream. While Mr. Villain buys it and unexpectedly enjoys it, he decides to spare the store until his world domination plans. Soon after, the Red Ranger shows up, lost again and seeking directions. On another day off, Mr. Villain considers doing laundry and enjoys a good breakfast. He ponders over the earthly creatures. Of all creatures, he is the most interested in pandas, so much so in fact that he went investigating about them. Surprised by the variety of animals at the zoo, he leaves with a panda plushie, eager to return. Mr. Villain goes to the convenience store where the Red Ranger thanks him with panda cookies. Later, he's upset about missing out on curry flavor during his day off, ending the day in anger. But watching a panda video on TV soothes him once more. On his another day off, Mr. Villain goes to a shopping mall. Mistaken for their father, two boys ask him for ice cream. Despite being annoyed, he buys them each one. When one drops his, the boy cries and Mr. Villain comforts him. The other suggests another ice cream, so Mr. Villain buys one and takes them to the Lost Children kiosk. The boys thank him before parting ways. As Mr. Villain departs, he reflects that humanity will likely be gone by the time the boys grow up, cherishing the warmth of their hands. Unbeknownst to him, the boys are actually rangers and friends with the Red Ranger. They return home to the Blue and Pink Rangers. The store employee is surprised to learn Mr. Villain isn't their father. Later, Mr. Villain attends a panda fair, exploring various merchandise and deciding to make some purchases. A young boy's voice narrates his latest achievement to his mother, mentioning he's been chosen to work on Earth with the revered general. Meanwhile, the villain is in his chambers. He declines a lunch invitation while being preoccupied with missing the new baby panda. He contacts the rookie recruit, advising him to go home and relax instead of working late, as the task can wait until tomorrow. The villain tells him to make the most of his day off, which is on the next day. The rookie is just stunned and surprised that the villain Akka. The general spoke to him. He wonders how to spend the day off and launches into a search. He ends up visiting the zoo and tells the villain about it too. He is also enamored by the pandas, so he gets Mr. Villain some panda-shaped chocolates, and the villain is happy. At home, Mr. Villain is scandalized to find many panda-shaped chocolates in the packet and decorates his place with them until they expire. Later, he returns home late from work and throws a tantrum over not having a pet panda, dreaming about cuddling with one. The next day, he takes a paid vacation to visit the zoo, pondering over the color of a panda's tail. To verify that, he even bought an annual pass at the zoo so that he can come back several times. Mr. Villain and a kid next to him anxiously wait for hours to catch a glimpse of the panda. As time passes, he realizes 2 hours have gone by and his phone is nearly dead. Determined, he remains until he finally sees the panda's tail. When they finally spot the panda's tail, Mr. Villain and the boy exclaim in excitement and fist bump. Mr. Villain considers the day a long struggle in his report, then heads to the petting zoo. Mr. Villain is surprised to see rabbits in various colors, particularly the black and white one. Tentatively, he starts petting them but becomes overwhelmed when they surround him, afraid to move for fear of stepping on any. Zoo staff help clear his way, and the young boy from earlier joins in, offering tips on petting the rabbits. Mr. Villain strikes up a conversation with the boy, who dreams of becoming a vet despite his mother's opposition. Mr. Villain encourages him, addressing him as doctor and asking for tips on petting rabbits again. The kid is thrilled, and Mr. Villain finds solace in the soft sensation of stroking a rabbit. Both wonder if pandas would be as soft as the rabbits they petted. They fist bump and part ways at the end of the day. Mr. Villain plans to touch pandas when they are more abundant. He ponders if the young kid will become a vet, but reminds himself of his ultimate goal to wipe out humanity. At work, he considers getting rabbits, but the rookie misunderstands he is thinking about ways to wipe out humanity. Later in the rainy night, Mr. Villain declines the Red Ranger's invitation to battle, explaining it's his day off and he's carrying eggs for hot spring eggs. He asks the Red Ranger to wait and heads home. The Red Ranger wonders if Mr. Villain evaded him, imagining he might return with an army. However, Mr. Villain comes back with an umbrella and snacks for the Red Ranger, even guiding him to the station. The Red Ranger is stunned by his unexpected kindness. Mr. Villain wakes up to a chilly morning, reluctant to leave his warm bed but eager to make the most of his day off. He grabs his phone and watches a Panda video. However, his colleague Rooney's persistent calls annoy him. After rejecting the calls multiple times, he accidentally answers. Rooney informs him about a monster on Earth that lures humans with warmth and traps them. Seeing this as an opportunity for their plan, Mr. Villain rushes to the control room headquarters to aid Rooney, who's already caught in the trap. Rooney asks Mr. Villain to buy mandarins as a distraction for the monster. Finding Rooney hiding under a warm table at headquarters, Mr. Villain sets out and overhears a couple discussing meat-filled panda buns. Intrigued, he searches for them but is dismayed when he sees a girl break one in half. Despite his initial reluctance, he buys a panda bun, later switching to regular meat buns and enjoying their taste. This leads him to become a regular customer, sampling various varieties. After discovering panda buns are discontinued, Mr. Villain finds similar ones at another supermarket. He develops a habit of enjoying warm buns but faces challenges heating them without them flattening. A similar mishap occurs at the Red Ranger's place, where they improvise with a container to maintain their shape, impressing Mr. Villain. Mr. Villain creates a snow rabbit and becomes enamored with its cuteness, keeping it in the freezer and checking on it often. When it starts to snow again, he's reminded of the snow rabbit. Later, he helps an elderly man carry his luggage and even offers him a piggyback ride. The old man appreciates Mr. Villain's kindness and asks for his help again, which Mr. Villain happily agrees to. Reflecting on humanity's kindness, Mr. Villain dreams of counting hundreds of pandas before encountering Santa Claus in his snowed-in hamlet. Santa takes him to deliver gifts, explaining he does it for children's joy and wishes. Santa thanks Mr. Villain, calling him child of a distant star. Mr. Villain wakes up to Christmas news on TV, feeling like his time with Santa was just a dream. A tired young man heads home from work, feeling downtrodden by the dullness of his life. He's resigned to spending his days off doing chores at home with no fun or entertainment. At the convenience store, he notices Mr. Villain fuming in the next aisle. Surprisingly, Mr. Villain's anger dissipates when the store worker approaches. Mr. Villain expresses his disappointment at the discontinuation of Chinese buns, which he considered a reward after a hard day's work. The young man is surprised to see others stopping by the store after work as well. Encouraged by the store employee, Mr. Villain checks out new frozen snacks in stock. The young man overhears Mr. Villain's conversation and realizes he could view his daily activities as rewards. He buys some pudding as a treat for himself and returns the next day for another reward. The store employee suggests cherry blossom tea to Mr. Villain, who enjoys it later as cherry blossoms fall around him. Both the young man and Mr. Villain return to the convenience store to buy their treats, where the employee informs Mr. Villain about new ice cream products. The young man tries to eavesdrop on their conversation and ends up trying both ice cream flavors, following Mr. Villain's lead. Mr. Villain anticipates his upcoming day off with excitement. On his day off, he visits a cafe to admire latte art, but is startled by the coffee-making equipment. Despite receiving a coffee with cute panda foam art, he's disappointed as the foam melts. A kind customer orders him another panda latte to lift his spirits. Later, Mr. Villain struggles with heavy grocery bags, planning Panda-themed food for his busy days ahead. Climbing the stairs to his apartment proves challenging, and he celebrates reaching the top, albeit with some embarrassment from encountering a fellow resident. Mr. Villain heads to the Cherry Blossoms Park for a picnic, but finds the petals have already fallen. He encounters a young girl collecting them, who eagerly accepts his lunch and enjoys the onigiri. She scatters the petals into the wind, leaving Mr. Villain surprised by humans' fascination with the cherry blossom phenomenon. As the girl leaves, Mr. Villain's voiceover reveals he returns to the spot, but she never does, considering a return visit the next year. And that concludes our recap of Mr. Villain's adventures. Do subscribe for more unexpected twists and heartwarming tales.